And starting with the top focus this hour, which is on the Israel-Hamas ceasefire talks. Indirect talks aimed at reaching a final agreement on a U.S. peace plan to end the war in Gaza have begun in Egypt.
Well, Egyptian state-linked media reports that the first round of talks between Hamas and mediators concluded in a positive atmosphere. According to Al-Qahira News, which is affiliated with Egypt's intelligence services, negotiations are set to continue on Tuesday. Meanwhile, an Israeli delegation arrived in the resort city of el-Sheikh on Monday.
And the talks, which will see Egyptian and Qatari officials holding shuttle meetings with delegations from both Israel and Hamas separately, come on the second anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel that was on 7th of October 2023 that sparked the war. Al-Qahira News earlier said that delegations were discussing preparing ground conditions for the release of detainees and prisoners.
A Palestinian source close to Hamas leadership said the negotiations are set to be difficult and complex and may last for several days. Hamas has said it agrees to the peace plan proposals in part, but has not responded to several key demands, including its disarmament and future role in Gaza. But U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters at the White House that Hamas was agreeing to things that are very important. Listen to this.
If certain things aren't met, we're not going to do it. But I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important.
President Trump has denied that he recently told Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop being negative about the proposal and take the win after Hamas accepted parts of Washington's proposal. Trump said it was not true, adding that Netanyahu has been very positive on the deal.
Now, Trump, whose envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner are expected in Egypt, has urged negotiators to move fast to end the war in Gaza, where Israeli strikes continued on Monday. Now, according to Gaza Civil Defense Agency, at least 7 Palestinians were killed in the latest Israeli airstrikes. Now, for more on this, we are now being joined by Asha Castleberry. She is a former senior advisor at the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs at a U.S. State Department and a U.S. national security and foreign policy expert. It's always great to see you on the show.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin by asking you, how positive are you about this whole peace plan? We know that Hamas has agreed to it, but somehow in part, they have mentioned in part. How positive are you going forward?
Well, I must say there's a mixed review to it. There is some progression in terms of it's unprecedented that they are meeting in Egypt. And Egypt and the Qataris are aggressively ensuring that they implement the White House-led 20-point plan. So that's for one issue to definitely pay attention to. Another point, too, is just understanding or figuring out what is the future role of Hamas in a post-Gaza crisis. I think that is what really matters. In the plan, it looks like that there will be no leadership role, no role in the post-crisis environment, and just hand it all over to the Palestinian Authority. So as far as what President Trump mentioned, where he seems quite optimistic of what they're willing to negotiate with, it's all about definitely the role, their future role in that post-crisis environment, I must say.
Yes. Ms. Castleberry, that's exactly what I was coming to next about the governance of Gaza, which is going to be a point of contention between the two sides. But other than that, what do you have to say about the other point that's mentioned in the proposal, which is giving up on arms? Do you think Hamas would be willing to give up arms as far as this proposal is concerned?
Yes, the proposal pretty much underscores the demilitarizing of Gaza, and that includes Hamas giving up a lot of its military equipment, its military posture throughout the Strip. So I think that Hamas will relinquish that posture overall. But in exchange, what do they get out of it as far as being able to relinquish most of its military posture. And another point too is the Palestinian Authority. As far as once they give that up, how does that shape the role of the Palestinian Authority? But what really matters here is the role of the international community, especially the regional players. How they're going to send in the security force, which comes off like they're trying to be a neutral force that will take over the post-crisis environment. And I think that's unprecedented compared to previous agreements. And I think that's definitely shaping the outcome of this, where it's going to most likely be successful. But overall, when it comes to agreements, with regards to Middle East policy, implementation is always the tricky part of it. An agreement we can get to, but implementation is what makes it harder. Like, for instance, there were airstrikes that happened recently and over the weekend. So implementation is really going to matter.
Yes.
In that,
right.
In that case, of course, we had Donald Trump also say that there were good talks with Hamas, and Hamas was agreeing to things that are very important. If you could probably shed a light, what are the things that could have been important that Donald Trump is indicating there?
I think it all depends on their role, their future role in the Gaza Strip, as far as giving up most of its leadership, its role in the post-crisis environment, in terms of handing it completely over to the Palestinian Authority, or working very closely with the Qataris and the rest of the international community, relinquishing a lot of itself from that, but continuously working on hostage affairs, as well as making sure that humanitarian aid is being sent to the people there, being still an instrumental or role in the post-Gaza crisis, but they're definitely determined to diminishing their role overall, and in doing so, it's by giving most of its role to the international community, mainly the regional players like Egypt and Qatar, to take over some of this their leadership role.
Yes, Ms. Castleberry, just last point that I wanted to touch upon before we let you go. This is about the earlier point you mentioned about the Israeli offensive, which still continues while the ceasefire talks have now begun. Now, despite President Trump even urging Netanyahu to stop carrying out military offensive while the talks are happening, the actions still continue. How do you think that is going to play out, given that the ceasefire talks are underway and there are deaths that are being reported every second day?
I think it's definitely going to be more monitored. Secretary Rubio talked about that point too, as far as it's very important to monitor, the logistical challenges, the ongoing issues or security challenges that are happening while doing these talks. So I think it's going to be more monitored and urged to please completely stop, in order to make this ceasefire proposal more effective. So, and you have right now social media monitoring these ongoing incidents. So they definitely will be monitored and be part of the negotiation piece.
Of course, we'll have to look forward to what comes out of these talks, and hopefully a positive one. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and giving your perspective.
Thank you.